tired of our men not being able to be men because they can't find work. We're tired of working full-time jobs for part-time income.
With the rise of Black Power, Martin Luther King's agenda, while still nonviolent, shifted.
We are tired of living in dilapidated, rat-infested shacks and slums.
He began to voice an even more radical denunciation of American society. To broaden his message beyond the civil rights platform, King took his movement north, where he encountered a backlash.
But if there was progress in the South, there was violent resistance in the North. The nation suddenly learned what it should have known, that racial prejudice was not just a Southern problem. It was nationwide.
King takes his campaign to Chicago when he moves into the ghettos there. People felt very differently when the microscope was being turned upon their own communities.
I have never seen, even in Mississippi and Alabama, mobs as hostile and as hate-filled as I've seen here in Chicago.
Shaken but undeterred, King returned south. He arrived in Memphis, Tennessee in March 1968 to show support for striking sanitation workers.
A lot of King's advisors tell him, don't go to Memphis. It's going to take away from your message, it's going to take away from your planning. But King insists. We're here to help garbage workers. These are the exact types of people we're supposed to be helping.
April 4th, 1968. Martin Luther King Jr. stepped out of room 306 onto the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. He told his young aide, Jesse Jackson, to put on a tie for dinner.
I said, Dr. King, prerequisite for eating is an appetite, not a tie. He said, you crazy. We laughed. He never hit him. He didn't suffer at all. So I remember saying, get up, he's my friend, Martin, hold on, Martin. He was gone. He was here, he was not here.
God knows this is the most tragic thing that has ever happened in my life.
When you see something like that, you never really recover from such a scene.
Knowing Dr. King was a marked man, news crews shadowed his every move. But at the moment of his death, no television cameras were present. The only pictures taken that day were by a South African filmmaker, Joe Lowe, who was at work on a documentary about Dr. King.
I heard the shot ring out, and I rushed out on the balcony. I saw Dr. King lying about 40 feet away. I ran to help, but there wasn't much anyone could do.
I have some very sad news for all of you, and that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
We are very upset today because we have lost somebody like a father.
It's got to be silent, it's got to.
And today, many people are out here on the street wondering which way they're going to turn because we don't know where we're going to go. Do we go to the right? Do we go to the left? We're not sure today. And we've lost something, and we feel it deeply. We feel it.
Our Moses, the once in a 400 or 500 year leader, has been taken from us by hatred and bitterness. The white people do not know it, but the white people's best friend is dead.
Crowds gathered along Harlem's 125th Street.
Looting in varying degrees and some burning was reported in a dozen or more cities.
Uncontrolled carnival of looting began.
Dr. King gets assassinated, and cities in the north go up in flames and riots. There's a sense that the nation is on the brink of civil war.
Once the demonstrators were seen out there burning down things, and they were seen as violent, all of the components that made the white man the obvious bad guy suddenly gets reversed. And that was a horrible moment of watching the narrative shift.
Martin Luther King's death was not the final chapter in the struggle to overcome racial injustice in America. But for a time, King changed the plot from disillusion to defiance. And despite the hate, he saw hope.
Dr. King said you have to create a crisis so that the power structures are forced to answer. We had to create crisis rooted in traditions that are far older than our chapter of the movement.
The shape of the world today does not afford us the luxury of an anemic democracy.
If you are fortunate, his memory can stick to your mind and inspire you to keep moving.
King used to talk about that a real peace was not the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. Ensuring the presence of justice is a whole lot more complicated.
The price that America must pay for the continued oppression of the Negro is the price of its own destruction.
There was something happening in America that responded to his voice and his message.
It is a struggle between the forces of light and the forces of darkness.
It was a moment that galvanized people and brought people off the sidelines, made them speak up and take a stand.
This isn't a conflict between black folk and white folk in the final analysis. It is a tension between justice and injustice.
He never framed this just about race. It was to redeem the soul of America. It's a tragedy to me that he's kind of seen as a leader for black people from a different era rather than as our leader.
Let freedom reign.
Dr. King always said, you're gonna die.
Let freedom reign from Stone Mountain of Georgia.
You have nothing to say about where, when, or how you die. Your only choice is what is it you give your life for.
When we let it reign,